If you're looking to create, grow, and sustain your wealth, download and subscribe to the Pain Points of Wealth podcast at BeBullish.com with Bob, Ryan, and Chris Payne. It's your podcast for market insights, money tips, and real talk on the economy. Download and subscribe at BeBullish.com. The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And tonight on the Rita Cosby Show, of course, the big State of the Union address tomorrow night. President Trump definitely going to talk about economy, I'm sure the border, many other issues. And there are a lot of things at stake. Of course, the SAVE Act, which is voter ID. You would think that that'd be a basic thing to have voter identification when you vote, when you go register, to show that you are a citizen. And then when you actually go to the voting booth, a photo ID. I don't think it's a lot to ask. Yet the Democratic Socialists of America say it's racist, that it's inappropriate, that it is not fair, it is not good, it is unconstitutional. You look at the list, it goes on and on and on. And yet the irony doesn't escape a lot of people as we are going through this big winter storm. By the way, I just saw that the northeastern blizzard, so far 12,000 flight delays and 11,000 cancellations in this latest round. That's enormous. Obviously, so much snow pounding many, many states at this hour. In some states, it continues to come down. But the irony doesn't escape us that Mayor Mondani of New York, of course, a Democratic Socialist, a proud Democratic Socialist, came out and he said, you know, we want to hire folks to shovel the snow. And what does he need? He needs multiple IDs. To shovel the snow, you need multiple IDs. But I guess to vote, you don't. Listen to him putting out the plea for anybody who wants to do some snow shoveling.
There's been this controversy over the snow laborers and the sort of what some see as onerous need to have documentation. Can you just talk about if that's new and what you make of the controversy?
This is all long-standing. This is a long-standing program and long-standing requirements, and this is a way that New Yorkers get paid to shovel snow in assistance with the city's response to a winter storm event. Federal law requires that employers get authorization and documentation to pay people for their work. We are not allowed to just cut checks to individuals for their work. And these are the policies that we've had in place, but I understand that for many, it's the first time that they've ever heard about it.
So you got to go through all these big steps just to shovel snow in New York, but don't worry about voting. That's racist if you need to show ID. And here is President Trump responding to that. He was asked, what do you make of all these ID requirements just to shovel snow in New York?
It's so crazy. You know, the mayor of New York, and he's a very nice person. I met him, but his ideology is not too good. But we're having a massive snowstorm right now. And I heard that he's asked people to come out and help shovel the snow. Okay, so you get a shovel and you start shoveling, right? What the hell? You're not going to help too much, but you can help.
Yeah, and pretty interesting. And yet, let's make sure you get lots of ID. To rent a book at the library, you need a lot of ID. But I guess not to vote in many of these states. Somehow they don't seem to see the irony of it. At least many people in the Democratic Socialists of America. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Norm on line 3. Go ahead, Norm. Your thoughts tonight.
Okay, Rita. Yeah, first thing. I wanted to talk about Jack Hughes, but let's get to the weather and let's get to the shoveling. Okay, ain't nobody going to shovel snow in this city for $20 an hour on the books. Just come to Canarsie and just walk around with a shovel, and people will pay you anywhere from $100 to $150. And
that's a pretty good deal. By the way, I'll be there in a couple hours if that's the deal.
Yeah. I mean, please, Rita. Please. I've got a lot of shovels, Rita. Please. Every person can contribute.
Do I need to show 2 IDs, Norm, if I do it there in Canarsie or not?
Rita. No worries. No worries. No, I didn't ask that of Elijah, who was the guy who might as well have been the prophet Elijah. who, and he, whatever. He did a very good job for me. And
good deal. But the irony is so amazing, Norm. The whole democratic socialist. Oh, you can't do this. You can't do this. But okay, now we need to show IDs to shovel snow. But voting, don't worry about it.
Nah, voting, don't worry about it. So anyway, I just want to say about Jack Hughes. I got up on Sunday morning and I watched the hockey game. And, it was, of course, I am very happy the U.S. won. But when Jack Hughes came on and that interview with the bloody mouth, and he came on there, he restored my faith that there are younger people out there who still love this country. And I watched the interview, and no lie, Rita, I'm not saying this just for effect, but I cried. I mean, it was beautiful.
It was beautiful.
It was absolutely beautiful. And he went on and on and on about, he loves America and loves this country and opportunity. I was like, oh my God. I mean,
it was so great. And you know what, Norm, too? It was so sincere. Like, I watch it too. It was so genuine. It was so sincere. You could tell totally from the heart. And also, he's such a sportsman, too. His love of country, his appreciation of his teammates, his appreciation of the team effort and the hard work. And even when they were asked, like the moment in the locker room there where they're asked, and you see it, where Kash Patel is holding the phone, the president's on the phone. We were just playing it earlier. And they were like, wow, we could go to the White House. Wow. It's just, there's something so beautiful. It's what sports is supposed to be all about, regardless of party.
Yeah. I tell you, I was quite shocked that NBC actually aired that interview the way it was. Well, it was live, but it's almost like I come to expect from the legacy media, patriotism kind of negated. And to see that, it was so pure that it just kind of cut through everything. So anyway, I just, God bless Jack Hughes and God bless this team. And I wish that the women's hockey team would do the same thing.
What do you make of that, Norm?
You're dealing with, I suspect, and this is I'm talking from the heart, they're dealing with some serious LGBTQ, wokey, crazy issues on that team.
Well, they remember, you know what it reminded me, Norm? It reminded me, Norm, of the soccer team, Megan Rapinoe. Remember, she was one of those folks who, was always taking a knee. And I always said this to you guys, I don't like the people taking a knee. I find it very offensive because just like the beauty of Jack Hughes, and I don't know if he's Republican or Democrat, I don't care. He's a great hockey player and he's a great American. And that's what he was there to do. And he delivered in spades and got a gold medal along with the rest of his incredible team. And that's all that matters. But Megan Rapinoe turned it into this big political thing. Remember when she was playing on the soccer team a few years ago. And I don't know, maybe it's kind of trickled over to them. They say, I just want to read this, Norm. They say, due to timing and previously scheduled academic and professional commitments following the games, they're unable to participate. They're sincerely grateful for this extended. So it sounds like they're complimenting, but we're just not available. I don't know, Norm. I agree with you. I think, you know what? You find time to go, even if they can't. Maybe all of them don't want to go, but some of them should go. And it shouldn't transcend whatever their politics are. Do you think politics are at play here, Norm?
Oh, completely. Look, here's the thing. I competed in a sport, and if I would have been invited by any administration, be they Obama, whatever, but Trump, I mean, like me as an athlete, I mean, a sport where I spend all my money to compete in, I mean, especially amateur sport, like powerlifting or anything, I'm like, oh my God, of course I'm going. And for them not to go is low. It's just childish, and it's giving in to this it's giving into that woke crazy whatever. They're all everybody's part of the resistance on the left. Oh, everybody's doing their bit to be part of the resistance.
Well, and I find it offensive because you don't want to be, to your point, resistance to America. You're allowed to speak your mind, certainly, and disagree. But to say I'm not going to go to something like a State of the Union, whether you're an athlete or especially if you're a politician and you're there to be representing Americans, you should be standing there and sitting there in front of an American president, regardless of party. Great points, Norm. And I love that Jack Hughes comment, too. What an amazing, patriotic, wonderful man, and what a great athlete. And bravo to the team, the men and the women's team, even though I wish the women's team were going to the State of the Union. We'll get to the bottom of why, Norm. We'll find out why. I think you and I might be on the right track there. Let's go to Nick in Virginia on line 2. Nick, your thoughts tonight.
Good evening, Rita. My wonderful new governor, Spanberger, is going to give the Democratic response to the State of the Union address tomorrow.
I saw that. The former CIA officer. Yep.
Oh, yeah. I don't know what she did in the CIA, maybe clean toilets, but she did something there. But I can tell you she's going to talk about aborting the 287 agreement, fighting ICE through legislation, and she wants to impose taxes on everything from guns. Well, we've tried that before. Ammo, food delivery rides, personal property tax rises, taxes on storage, crazy taxes. And the Democrats are talking about affordability, and here she wants to raise the minimum wage, which is currently $12.70 an hour, to $15 an hour. And that's like 20% rise in minimum wage. And that's not going to make anything affordable.
Nick, what do people in Virginia think of her, too? Because, it's interesting. She ran as a moderate. She and Mikey Sherrill in New Jersey both sort of ran as moderates, if you will. Of course, Abigail Spanberger running as a CIA officer, former CIA, Mikey Sherrill as former prosecutor, also military gal pilot. And then the minute they got in, it's like, okay, anti-ICE, anti-this, anti-this. I mean, Abigail Spanberger, got rid of via executive order, so many of the big things that Glenn Youngkin put in place that were working well for Virginia.
Right. And I'm glad you brought up Youngkin, because I encourage him to run for Senate. Don't think about running for president. You'll be forgotten by that time comes around. But you're right about Spanberger and doing this, not quite a 180, but it looks like a 180. And she's got a lot of Democrats here scratching her head why they voted for her, because she did run as a moderate. And right now she's looking like your garden variety leftist, That's what I'm seeing and hearing.
Yeah, and that's why it is going to be interesting to see how she responds tomorrow night. What do you make of the fact that so many Democrats, at least a number of them, are saying that they do not want to attend, that they're not even going to come to the State of the Union? They'll listen to Abigail Spanberger. I'm sure she'll be on the big screens. But the fact that they won't even attend, I think it's beneath the dignity of members of Congress. If you don't like the president, just sit there, but don't not come.
Absolutely. I agree with all your callers tonight on that issue. And what they're doing is they're protesting. They're going out there into the streets. And, those lightweights, they'll be out there for about 15 minutes. They'll get their photo op. They'll go back in their warm limos and drive off to their offices and say, how'd we do? Let's see what happened on TV. But I hope all the hockey players show up tomorrow night.
I do, too.
I want to hear USA.
I do. By the way, you're right. That will be, how great will that be when they get acknowledged and come in, there will be so many great chants of USA. Hopefully they'll be wearing their gold medals too. And then we'll see the great smile there with Jack Hughes with his missing teeth. I mean, that will definitely be one for the record books. And boy, that will be a great, great moment to see them in there, Nick. So we'll all be watching for that. 1-800-848-9222. And we will continue, everybody, here on The Rita Cosby Show after the break.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our country has to offer, especially health care. Across every state, every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.
Rural Americans deserve access to the best our nation has to offer, especially when it comes to health care. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families' health. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care. Rural Americans deserve access to the best our nation has to offer, especially when it comes to health care. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families' health. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.
Hey, it's Sterling K. Brown from the Hulu original series Paradise. The next chapter begins as Xavier's search for his wife takes him above ground, and what he finds will change everything. It was never just about the bunker. Tune in and discover the truth lies outside. Paradise, the official podcast, is now streaming, and stream Paradise on Hulu and Hulu on Disney+.
This is The Rita Cosby Show.
And coming up on the Rita Cosby Show on this snowy and messy news night. I can't believe we've been dealing with snow yet again, and some huge snow totals taking place all over New York, of course, Connecticut, Massachusetts. Maine is getting hit. There's a lot of places in the Northeast that are absolutely getting pummeled. Well, President Trump also looking at what's going on in Mexico. Have you seen some of the images? It is downright frightening. There are reports tonight that a Costco in Puerto Vallarta has been set on fire, and that tourists have been told to shelter in place, not to do any movements, because at Jalisco Airport, there were armed gunmen at there. This is all after the Mexican military, with a intel tip from the U.S., took out a major drug lord. And now there are rival gangs fighting, also looking for Americans, but also particularly looking for each other. It is really a very chaotic scene south of the border. And if that doesn't explain why we need to have a closed border, why we need to vet who comes into this country, I don't know what does. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Joaquin on line 4. Go ahead, Joaquin.
Good evening, Rita. You know, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I'm going to agree with Sandra. I think it's really time that we allow these Democrats to expose themselves for what they are, for the anti-American agenda that they actually do support.
You mean stay away. If they don't want to clap, stay away from the State of the Union.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. You know, and unfortunately, my philosophy was, you know, when it came to President Obama and President Biden, I saw them for what they were, and I did not feel comfortable referring to them as my president either. And quite frankly, you know, when it comes down to Teddy and this thing about the tariffs, he really has no understanding as to what's gone on in this country and why those tariffs are so necessary. This has been so much brainwashing that most of these, you know, these people really don't understand what's really going on.
Yeah, he's got complete Trump derangement syndrome, turbocharged.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. Rita Cosby is on.
Well, we are just getting word about the chaos in Mexico. There are so many Americans that are stranded in Mexico amid major cartel violence. One of the big drug lords there, responsible for some of the most amount of drugs coming into America and violence, of the new Jalisco gang. Well, he has been taken out. U.S. intelligence provided to the Mexicans, and the Mexican secret police went in. They lost, by the way, about 25 soldiers with this attack, but they took out this guy. There's word that they were following his mistress, and the mistress showed up. Then the mistress left, and then they took the hit. This is a big one, but now just explosive violence taking place, especially all over Puerto Vallarta, a big resort community. So that is really frightening to see. And if that doesn't convince you why we got to have secure borders and why we got to know who's in this country, especially when we neighbor Mexico, I don't know what does. In just the last few hours, there's a report in the middle of all this. What does Governor Gavin Newsom do from the state of California? He just gave a full pardon to an illegal alien that was accused of some very serious crimes. A guy who was accused of 10 different crimes, a Cambodian national who was sentenced in 1997 for attempted murder, assault with a firearm. He had final orders of deportation, and now the governor has indeed pardoned him. That's an incredible moment. What else do you need? You've got a guy with a violent history, and Gavin Newsom is pardoning them. It's almost like two different worlds. I can't wait to hear what President Trump says tomorrow at the State of the Union address. He's going to talk about border security. He's going to talk about defending America, and he's going to also talk about his track record, how many have left the country, how many have been rounded up, and he's going to list how many murderers and rapists and people with significant crimes, like the guy that Gavin Newsom just pardoned. That's incredible. Well, this is cut number 12, because today President Trump was at the White House talking with angel families. And these are the ones who have lost loved ones due to illegal immigrants in America. He named today National Angel Family Day. Here, the mother of Laken Riley and the mother of many other of these high-profile cases. And here is angel mom Laura Wilkerson. Boy, this is heartbreaking. She talked about what happened to her son, and she also talked about how incredibly supportive President Trump has been to her and other angel families.
I met a man about 11 years ago who was running for office. And he sat with us a couple of days, and he watched as the tears rolled down my face as I told him the story of how our youngest son Joshua was brutally beaten, tortured, strangled to death, and his body set on fire. The man next to me was President Trump. He never, ever looked away from my pain. He looked me straight in the eye, and he said, "I will never forget the story of your sweet son, and I will never give up fighting for the American family." I looked at him and I believed him. And here we are these years later, and you can tell all of the work he's done. He's never missed a day of fighting for the American family.
It was so powerful. And case in point, this attack to take out one of the biggest drug lords there in Mexico, somebody who has been responsible for horrible, brutal atrocities. And thank goodness they got rid of the guy named El Mencho. But now rival gangs are fighting each other, and there are a lot of American tourists that obviously go to Mexico, pretty places like Puerto Vallarta and elsewhere, that are now sheltering in place, scared for their lives. Listen to this woman who is stuck in Mexico. Take a listen.
To be an but your upcoming vacation to Puerto Vallarta is the least of my concerns right now. The amount of DMs I've received about, hey, I'm supposed to fly in tomorrow. Is it safe? Read the room, Susan. We're in the middle of a war zone. Businesses are burnt down. Cars are in flames. Our city's literally still burning as you're typing your DM about your upcoming vacation. I promise you there's bigger losses in the world, in Puerto Vallarta specifically right now, than that $1,200 plane ticket or $2,000 that may have spent for the hotel. We're locked down. We're in a war zone. It's not safe. Nowhere in Jalisco is probably safe right now. Like, read the room, pick up the news. I just can't believe how insensitive some Americans are right now, just focused on their vacations when we're literally burning. We're burning. Our city has been burnt to crisps, like our stores, our gas stations. Like, the people here, like, we're concerned. We're in a war. We're in the middle of a war zone between organized crime and the government. Like, the majority of families here are not prepared to shelter in place. We don't have supplies to last us for very long. And y'all are still worried about whether the all-inclusive hotel is going to be open for you. Probably not. Probably not. Flights are canceled as of now.
Yeah, as they should be. If you see the scenes that I was just looking at before the show, guys, take a look at what's happening to the Costco in Puerto Vallarta. It looks like it's being burned to the ground. This is a very dangerous situation, really scary. And this is exactly why you can't have an open border, why you got to vet who's in this country, and also look to see who indeed has cartel ties. They should not be in this country. They are way too dangerous. You don't want that to spill over into this country any more than it already has. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Eduardo in Tampa on line 2. Go ahead, Eduardo.
Yeah, good evening, Rita. Yeah, hopefully we're going to hear, I'm curious to hear what President Trump's going to say about this tomorrow in the address to the nation tomorrow. And we definitely have to have these secure borders because you're going to have the other gangs going over the border. And hopefully Mrs. Guthrie was not one of these victims. You know, as we talked previously, you know, an area like Phoenix is notorious for kidnappings and all this.
And by the way, you're right. It's really scary. And the fact that here we are weeks later, Eduardo, I can't believe that we don't have an answer in that case.
Right.
And you're right. It just shows the violence. And we know that there have been cases of people that have, you know, obviously kidnapped people in America, brought them across. We also know of times that those who have been trafficked brought across, that the families are further terrorized once they come into this country. And look, President Trump has cut off their finances. He has said no more fentanyl. He has said he's going to go after those who are transporting fentanyl. This guy, El Mencho, was one of the worst offenders, as you probably know. And look, I mean,
Right.
think about an amazing, I thought about this tonight, Eduardo, and he may put it in this comparison. You got El Chapo in the United States. You got El Mencho, this head of the new Jalisco cartel, dead. You got Maduro in jail. I mean, what an enormous dent this is to cartel operations around the world. And I think it's going to be very, very violent in Mexico short term. They're going to probably go after Mexican officials because Mexican officials played a role in this hit. They're the ones who actually, sent out the Mexican police, and to their credit, they went in and took him out. They went on the U.S. intel. They went in and took him out, and they lost 25 soldiers. I mean, that's a huge loss, Eduardo.
Yeah. And it's good that we provide intelligence, but we have to get permission from them if we're going to have some kind of role, on the ground. We should get permission from them. And for them, they have to worry about tourism. They have the soccer tournament coming up in the FIFA tournament in the summer. So they're fully aware of the situation because this is bad PR for them if they don't have control of this.
And you know what? By the way, you brought up a great point because you're right. That FIFA tournament, who's going to want to necessarily go there for a FIFA game if the headlines, or at least if you're from outside of Mexico. And then the other thing is also the president of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum, doesn't seem to be cracking down on the cartels. So this was a big action that she took, and a very positive step. But a new kind of game in town. And I guess there's also been a lot of pressure, obviously, from America that you better shape up or else. And she's obviously, reading the tea leaves. Hopefully this is a sign of the times. But it's late for her. She, so many Mexican presidents seem to turn a blind eye a lot of times. Don't you think, Eduardo?
Yeah. So this is why I think on our side, we need to put the pressure on her to, be aggressive on this. Otherwise, we definitely welcome the green light. We're able to, go in there and do special operations if necessary.
Right. Although it's even better if they can carry them out, because it is their country and they should be, if they can actually carry it out and we just provide intel or maybe they even use their own intel, even better,
Right.
But I'm happy to see that at least they stepped up in this one. And it is going to be messy because these gangs are so ruthless and notorious. Eduardo, thank you very much. I'll be curious to see what President Trump says on this tomorrow night, too, at the State of the Union. And by the way, I didn't even mention, all the narco-terrorist boats that he has taken out. He's taken a few more of late, too, as well. So he's got a lot to tout in terms of the war on drugs, like no other president I have ever seen in my lifetime. I mean, it really is extraordinary what he has done. And I am praying for the people, the good people there in Mexico, as these gangs are fighting it out on the streets. And it's a tough time, especially in tourist areas, too, as well. Let's go to John in Colorado on line 4. John, you're here on the Rita Cosby Show. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, hi, Rita. I saw that picture of the guy that was at Nancy Guthrie's house with the ski mask on.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And the way he was holding his holster, that guy's definitely a cartel person. He looks like it. You can tell by just his head, his mouth, when you look at him. I lived in L.A. for 12 years. I saw a lot of, Mexicans. And I think definitely they came and took her. They might not get their money for this kidnapping, but they've caused so much problem and chaos, in the past weeks with this whole deal they pulled. I think they took her down to the south of the border.
But and what do you think was the objective? Was the objective, like you said, to create chaos? Because they seem disoriented on the kidnapping ransom part.
Well, her daughter is the host for America Today, big major American TV show.
Yeah, the daughter, right, Savannah. Yep.
It's like they're just terrorists causing problems, and hopefully somebody can find her. But, it's been a few weeks now. I don't think she's really going to be alive anymore. But
well, I'm praying. You bring up a good point, because you don't know And nobody knows. And you're right. They certainly have created terror and chaos if they're responsible. You know what's an interesting point you brought up, John, that Betsy Brantner Smith, who we've had here on the show, I don't know if you've heard this, but I remember when everything came out, and she lives in Tucson. So when this whole thing happened and they shared that video of the surveillance video, the first thing, it was interesting, she said about the way they were carrying, she said a lot of people carry there. It's called a Mexican carry, that a lot of like Mexicans carry that way in the community. So that is interesting. That points to somebody who carries it that way. That's sort of the style, i.e. cartel, because you want to kind of show force right away versus utility. So maybe it is tied. We don't know that. But boy, let's pray for a happy ending. Let's pray that Nancy Guthrie comes home. Let's go to Max in Manhattan on line 2. Max, your thoughts tonight.
Okay, Rita, thank you for taking my call. This Scheinbaum is in a difficult position. I'm going to say because she and her family have to be, from this point on, in some sort of lockdown.
They probably were already, though. Don't you think so?
Okay, but now they're even forced to stay more in the house,
yeah,
or in their homes.
I agree. I agree.
And so you're living. I mean, it's a self-imposed exile here, and you're directing things probably from your home, as well as all your extended family, because they're going to go after them also. So, and I don't know. An added thing is, I don't know how she kept this on the hush hush mush mush, because the cartels have people, their own people inside the presidency, who are well dressed, they're college educated, but they own their loyalties to the cartels. So if they got this guy, this must have been extremely hush hush.
Max, those are some great points, because you're absolutely right. You're right. She is going to have to look over her shoulder for the rest of her life. She probably was, doing that, but you're right. It's times 10, and her family. And you're right. There are so many people that are on the cartel payroll that, you're right. She probably kept it to just a very, very small amount of people, because you're right. That's the problem with Mexico. There are individuals everybody's, there's so much corruption there. And even the Mexican police force too. There are people that they go over to the Mexican police and say, hey, you better tip off, give me inside information about blank, or else maybe something's going to happen to your family. I mean, these cartels are ruthless. On the other hand, I'm happy to see, though, that she stepped up, and I wish she had done it sooner. But I can't imagine any president of Mexico not worried about the cartels really coming after them. But right now, her and everybody in her cabinet, too. The other thing you got to think about, there's one guy also, Max, that I was reading about. I think it's her Secretary of State. And he has made it sort of his mission to go after this El Mencho guy, the drug lord who was just taken out. Now he's taken out. So I worry about other people also in her administration, too, because they've got to be worried about the cartels coming after them and their families. So let's just pray for Mexico and pray for those officials who had the courage to play a role in this attack. Max, thank you. Really great points. And everybody, we're going to continue after the break. 1-800-848-9222. You're listening to The Rita Cosby Show. But first, support our heroes.
The Rita Cosby Show presents Support Our Heroes.
And this is the Tunnel to Towers Foundation Support Our Heroes segment with a very powerful story from Provo, Utah, occurring 5 years after World War II ended and the decade before the United States involvement in Vietnam. The Korean War from 1950 to 1953 is considered by many to be the forgotten war. And recently, a number of members there in Provo, Utah, were honored at a ceremony for their service, including American Legion Post 13 member Wilbur Bill Walton, who is a 96-year-old naval veteran who still remembers when President Truman referred to the war as a police action. He said a phrase that he felt undermined the nature of the conflict. Well, just a few days ago, many of them were there being honored for their selfless service and also their families as well. And the veteran of the daughter of that veteran was also there and said this service meant so much to him and to us. That time of his service was so important. He talks about it. He put it in his journal. We all know what he did during that time. So I think it's great that America recognizes the men and women who fought to keep us safe. And of course, bravo to all of our great Korean War veterans and their families. We love you and we appreciate you so much here on The Rita Cosby Show. And everybody, help America to never, ever forget. Donate $11 a month to make a huge difference with the great Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Be sure to check them out at T2T.org. That's T, the number 2, T.org.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
TaxAct knows every small business owner has different tax filing needs. With TaxAct, you can file yourself with the help of an expert, or TaxAct can do it all for you. You're the boss, the head honcho, the top banana. And TaxAct is like your loyal, trusty tax aide, ready to pounce on any tax needs you might have. TaxAct is dying to pounce on some small business tax needs. TaxAct. Let's get them over with.
It's the Rita Cosby Show.
And let's go quick to Pete in Staten Island on line 5. Pete, your thoughts tonight?
Rita, I'll make it quick. I got another scenario with this Nancy that's missing. She could be in a nursing home or a hospital under a Jane Doe, and they got, with this all this time that went by, a good plastic surgeon could make her look so different that they won't recognize us. So I suggest they should check all the hospitals or rehabs in the area if she's there.
But wait, do you think she wandered off? Or you think someone took her there,
No,
Pete?
I think she was kidnapped. But they must have seen she was injured. They couldn't handle her. They might have dumped her off somewhere.
That's a pretty elaborate scheme, Pete. But I will say it is a big mystery, and I cannot believe they haven't figured it out yet. I'm still praying she's alive. I always think about Elizabeth Smart, how she came back safe. Let's pray Nancy Guthrie is the same.
Thanks for listening to The Rita Cosby Show. You can hear The Rita Cosby Show weeknights at 10 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and busts. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. Just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.